60 years later, he still hung like he meant it. Those passing "I love you" still sounded authentic. He knew love was costly and time was expensive, but he saw her as his best investment. He spent himself on her. He knew love that cost you nothing is cheap and you get what you pay for. So he poured into her and stored up treasures in heaven. He treated his marriage like the parable of the talents. Said, "God, you gave me 10 talents and this dime of a wife, and at the end of my life I will present you 10 more." How she mourned.
Yeah, come on.
How she mourned. That morning he did not wake up next to her. You see, cancer had been working him to death, but eternal life called and asked if he wanted to permanently retire. He expired on her birthday. Like the flame of a candle placed on a cake that read "Happily Ever After." She knew there was an afterlife, but Grandma just couldn't picture life after Grandpa. You see, my grandpa had a marriage that inspired me. It served as a divine reminder that the path to greatness is paved with service, and the greatest sermons aren't the words from pulpits, but the lives of servants. Under the surface of his service of my grandma, his queen, was the heart of a sower sowing seeds, believing the love he sowed would be the love he'd reap. Yet he'd keep giving if he never received the promise or perceived the harvest, or at least not in this lifetime. A few days prior to dying, I gazed into the vacant eyes of a man whose eyes once taught me what it looked like to look at your wife the way Christ looks at his bride. And I cried, and as I said my goodbyes, knowing this would be the last time I would ever look at my grandpa alive, a timely reminder came to mind that time is precious, and so is my wife. So am I spending it on her wisely? Will I be that half-deaf, half-blind, 85-year-old guy walking down the street with my wife's hand in mine? No teeth, no words that need to be spoken, because my whole life will be the token of my unbroken commitment to her. Those three little words, "I love you," can be so cheap. Do I live like I mean it? Do I love like I believe that love is patient, and we are both patients, and marriage is the operation, and God is a cardiologist and not a plastic surgeon, binding broken hearts, transforming sinful hearts, and jump-starting dead hearts to beat again? Or will I be just another minister who sacrifices his marriage on the altar of ministry? Will my ministry mean more to me than my family, even though I guarantee it does not mean more to God? My wife is the blood-bought daughter he sent to me to see if I would build my master's investment or bury it. It's scary.
Come on.
The failure to love your wife well in every season may be the very reason God sends you to hell.
My God. Come on.
I'm telling you, it takes time for iron to sharpen iron. How ironic that we always want a spouse who meets all the conditions, when marriage is the way God positions us to condition us to learn unconditional love. Consider him who suffered and shed blood so that you will not grow weary and give up. He gave up his life for you. He was broken for the broken, and marriage is just the union of two broken vessels who wrestle with the same temptations and trials underneath the smiles and the photographs of the real stories we hide. So don't compare the gory details of your behind the scenes to the glory of everyone else's highlight reels, because really, negatives are just beautiful pictures developing in the darkness. And no matter what way you frame it, picture perfect love has never fit in boxes where we crop out the negatives we want no one to see, because true love loves even the ugly. Love himself stepped out of heaven and entered our phony picture of love, breaking its frame, rearranging its pieces into the shape of a cross where he lost his life to bring life to the lost. The cross is a picture of what real love looks like. Both extremely costly and freely given. This vision of his death and resurrection is a lesson for our marriage, because even when it looks like every hope is dashed, God can take even the deepest lashes and still bring the beauty out of ashes. The fact is, marriage tells a story so much bigger than itself. It tells the story of a God who saw us in sin and still loved like he meant it. Shed his blood to show us it was authentic. He knew love was costly and time was expensive, but he saw us as his best investment. He sent himself for us. He knew love that cost you nothing is cheap and you get what you pay for. So he poured out his life unto death to make us his treasures in heaven and forgive us 7 times 77. So even if my marriage falls 7 times, I will cry out to God and get back up again, because a husband, wife, and Christ in one accord is the cord of 3 strands that is not easily broken. I'm hoping to love my wife the way my grandpa loved my grandma. To be the kind of man who loves his bride the way Christ loves his church. It takes work, but it will be worth it to hear my master say,
what it is.
good and faithful servant, because my God has given me 10 talents and my dime of a wife, and at the end of my life I will present 10 more.
Good.